Before we start this video, I want to give a massive shout out to one of my best mates online, Damien. Thank you so much for lending me this phone. I really appreciate it. Guys, if you want to see more of Damien's stuff, that will be the first line in the video description, will be the link to his YouTube channel where he posts kind of more stuff like this, just less regularly. Yeah, he's a big boy, he can take it. Anyway guys, so we're going to be talking about the Pixel 4 today because it's a phone that in the past I've kind of bashed for being a bit meh, bit underwhelming, and you know, I used it a bit in person for work because I got given or lent a unit for Android Authority, but considering I couldn't talk about or use that phone on this channel, I kind of had, you know, it's stewed in my head like the thoughts about the phone, but I wasn't really thinking about it. Damien was like, do you want to borrow a Pixel 4? I was like, yes I do. So he sent that straight over, and today we're going to be talking about it a few months after it's released, talking about kind of the things that have possibly been ironed out, things that haven't been ironed out. Is it still a phone that I don't recommend, you know, after using it for a relatively extended period of time? Or should you just, you know, not bother? Just don't listen to me and go out and buy one. I'm going to split this video into two parts. The first, I'm going to talk about the things I do think are good, are positive, that maybe need some improvement, but that generally are okay. And then I'm going to be talking about the bad bits, the bits that let this phone down and are the reason why I cannot recommend this phone, which you've probably already seen in the title, so you kind of know where this thing is going. Also, if I slur my words a little bit, it's 3:43 AM and this is the only real time I can shoot these videos. I'm having a bit of an issue, so yeah. Let's talk about the good bits. The Pixel has always been known to have a really good camera, and this has a good camera. It's the best when it comes to HDR, and it's the best when it comes to selfies, portrait selfies, when it comes to the portrait mode. I just think the portrait mode in this is unrivaled. I think it has the best depth perception, the best edge detection. I mean, the thing is really good at creating something that looks believable, like it could have been taken on a higher end camera. So yeah, I think that's a really good point of this phone. And Pixels have been good at kind of like point and shoot cameras. You don't mess with the settings, you kind of just take the photo. You point the phone at something, you take the photo. It's been a big selling point from Pixel cameras, and it just continues here. The screen, you know what? The company I work for, Android Authority, tested the screen and it did the best in all of their tests. And being someone who's employed to do most of those tests, I can certainly vouch for the great screen on this thing. It is good. The fact that it's 5.8 inches on the small side is really nice because I do like compact smartphones. We'll get onto that a little bit later. But, you know, it's crisp, it's sharp, the colours are good, it's pretty accurate, gets fairly bright. It's a good screen. And it's got 90 Hz if you want it, which I mean, I don't really care. I don't really care about 90 Hz if I'm honest. I thought I did to start with, and it was a cool gimmick. But on a smartphone, it's just really not needed. I'm not playing competitive Counter-Strike on it, so therefore I don't need a high refresh rate display. Also, it looks like my Chromecast is restarting, so we'll just let that do its thing. Love that. The body and design of this smartphone, really nice. I like compact smartphones, and this is a compact smartphone. It's one of the very few full flagships in a compact body. And I think you have to give Google props for that, for producing something that's really easy to hold. It's very narrow and a little bit taller, so it makes holding it in one hand really easy. You know what? I have to say, it's probably one of the best built smartphones I've ever used. Performance is also really good. Snapdragon 855, 6 GB of RAM. It's nothing crazy, it's nothing out of this world, but it's pretty up there. It's pretty top spec, and you know what? It works a treat. I haven't played any games on this phone, but you can kind of just generally say that it's going to be good at gaming. I mean, it's not a stupidly high resolution screen, and it's got some good specs. So there we are. Otherwise, I think it was a really quick smartphone. It's something that I suppose Pixels have been good at kind of for the first 6 months. But yeah, no, this has been good. I've kind of installed quite a few apps on it, so it's not like it's just a fresh install. It's worked well for me when I was using it for work. It's worked well for me when I used Damien's phone. So yeah, there's nothing really bad I can say about the performance. That's a good job there. And the speakers, something that I suppose a lot of people aren't going to comment on, but I think the speakers are pretty good. I still prefer the speakers on my iPhone because they're a little bit bassier. It's probably got something to do with the EQ or the way they balance the sound. It's a little bit punchier, a little bit bassier, but I do really like the Pixel 4 speakers. I think that they're very clear, even considering the fact that they've switched to a hybrid setup versus a strict stereo pair. Moving on to the bad bits now, and I've put the cameras in this category as well. I think the app is just a little bit too simple. It's something that I would have liked to have seen kind of to move towards the Huawei way of doing things. Really weird how you say that, but just a simple camera app that has more features the more you dig into it. I think their app is perfect, to be honest. I don't think anyone could really beat it, but not having those manual options is a bit of an annoyance. I know that's not what the Pixels are known for, but it would have just been nice to have at least that mode there. The real concern for me, well, there are two. One, the white balance is just very warm on Pixels. In general, it's just Google's colour science, very warm. Not a fan of that, if I'm honest. I kind of like a little bit of a cooler image, and that's something that I get from pretty much every other smartphone. This is a little bit inaccurate when it comes to taking photos. It's just the colours, like everything else is good, the sharpness is good, like we spoke about before, but the actual, the weird colours, it's not right, it's not natural, and it's not representative of what I saw with my eyes there. And the main thing is it doesn't have an ultra-wide lens, which is something that, you know your phone's a little bit meh when Apple has the feature on their phone and you don't have it on yours, and you're a direct competitor. I love shooting really wide, so having something with a wide angle lens is pretty important to me. But I suppose even deviating from that, pretty much every smartphone, whether it's £100, £150, all the way up to £1,000, has a wide angle lens, apart from the Pixel. That's just not good enough. You need to have it there, Google. Why are you making me wait? I can't switch to a Pixel because I want that wide angle lens, and it's not there, so that kind of sucks. Also, there's that whole debate about the UHD 60p, the fact that this thing could record it, but Google kind of turned it off. I don't really shoot video with my smartphone, but that is kind of annoying. And if I was someone who shot UHD 60 and couldn't do it on their Pixel 4, I would be pretty annoyed as well, because the hardware's there. The body and design, like I spoke about before, it has its good bits. Bad bits being that chin shouldn't be there. It should be a consistently thick bezel all the way around the outside, apart from the top, where the forehead has all of its Project Solly stuff in it. I think it's lazy, or maybe they haven't spent the money to be able to develop that kind of thing. I know that the iPhones have thick bezels, however, they're consistent. That's what's important to me, not necessarily how thin the bezel is. And the battery life is laughable. I mean, this is the worst battery life that I've seen in a massively long time. And I've been doing this for a fair few years. The battery life itself isn't so bad if you don't really use your phone much. But then that leads me on to the next thing. The standby time is the worst I've ever seen on anything mobile, let alone a smartphone. Could be, like an Xbox controller or whatever. It's awful. At night, you might put your phone on your bedside table, you get up, and it's lost 20% battery. 20% on a battery that's only 2,800 mAh anyway. So it was never going to get you through a full day on 80%. I've never seen a phone like this before. Actually, I have. The Pixel 3a. I mean, it wasn't that bad, let's be honest. The Pixel 3a has decent battery life. It's not as bad as the Pixel 4. But Pixels in general have pretty poor standby time. I don't know if that's maybe due to Google doing its algorithmic things in the background, or the fact that it's constantly connected to the internet, but the Pixel 4 standby time is atrocious, and it's the reason I can't switch to it. I know the wide angle thing is a big thing for me too, and it's definitely one of the reasons, but the fact that, I typically don't charge my phone overnight because in fear that it's going to the battery's going to die, basically, it being pinned at 100% all the time. That means I charge during the day, and it's not very quick. It's only 18 watt. I mean, it's still quicker than this with the stock charger, but there we are. I don't think there's any excuse for Apple to even bother with that anymore. I think the problem is that you just cannot rely on your phone to sit there, and if you go, oh, you know what, I'm going to try and save battery life by not using my phone today, you can't rely on that being a way to fix it unless you just permanently turn it off and not have any communication with the outside world. Yeah, I mean, crikey, it's not good enough, let's be honest, it's not good enough. And I suppose that leads me on to the conclusion, which is that Google, I mean, when the Pixel 1 came out, it was revolutionary. It had stupidly quick charging, great battery life, the world's best camera, a fantastic screen, and it was using the newest Snapdragon chip, the 821 versus the 820 that came out that year. But in 2019, it's just underwhelming. I mean, it hasn't got some crazy cameras. I'm sorry, Pixel lovers. I just don't think they're that good compared to the competition, especially against Huawei. You've got pretty poor, no, some of the worst battery life of a flagship ever. You've got no innovations in charging. You've got kind of a slightly outdated system on chip, being the 855 versus the 855 Plus, subpar RAM. I mean, the whole shebang. You've got some of the worst hardware put together. And that's the worst bit, is that the Pixel always used to be about its software. And you know what? I think it still is. But OnePlus, for me, is just doing better software. It's cleaner. It's got more features without being overbearing and without seeming like bloatware. And I've got to say, that's got to be one of my favourite OS experiences. And the Google Pixel is just dropping down there. I think I actually prefer OnePlus over the Google Pixel software, which is a real shame. The pricing is completely off. I mean, a lot of people forget that flagship means the best. I really don't think you should buy this smartphone, and if you really like Pixels, go for it. I mean, it's your money. I'm not telling you not to. I'm just advising you that you shouldn't, and you should spend your money on something a lot better, like a OnePlus 7T Pro or a OnePlus 7T if you're in the States and you don't have access to the 7T Pro. For the same kind of money, you're getting one hell of a smartphone versus something that could have passed for a £500 phone if it hadn't had the Google branding on it. And even then, it would still get stomped by the X2 Pro, so yeah. Anyway, with that, I kind of want to finish this ranty video. I was fully expecting this review to turn into a bit of a rant, mainly because of my weird love affair with the Pixels that have been good, bad, and everything in between. I want to give a massive shout out to Damien for helping me with this, for lending me the phone. I really appreciate it. He's actually lent me another phone that's coming up very soon, maybe by Samsung, maybe their top of the line phone at the moment. And then there also might be some cool lenses, and there's going to be a cool laptop. I just really appreciate Damien. So thanks for being an awesome friend, and I really appreciate your help and support because it goes a long way. Anyway, I want to give a massive shout out to my patrons as well. You guys have been awesome, so thank you for your continued support. I'll leave all my links in the video description along with that link to Damien's channel, because it would really help me out if you went and checked out his channel to give him some recognition. Anyway, please do like, dislike, comment and subscribe if you're new around here to never miss a video like this one. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I'll see you later. Peace.